They say revenge is a dish best served cold. But what they don't tell you is that sometimes the coldest revenge is simply letting the truth speak for itself. My name is Alex, and this is the story of how my high school bully tried to destroy everything I'd worked for, and how I made sure everyone finally saw him for who he really was. But before I tell you how it all went down, you need to understand something. I never wanted to be his enemy. In fact, I'd spent 3 years trying to be invisible. It started on a Tuesday morning in senior year. I was sitting in AP Chemistry, minding my own business, when Derek Morrison walked in 20 minutes late. Again. Mr. Patterson didn't even look up from his desk anymore. That's what happens when your dad donates a new science wing to the school. Derek had made my life miserable since sophomore year, but I'd developed a system. Keep your head down, don't make eye contact, and pray he finds someone else to torture that day. It had worked, mostly, until that Tuesday. "Hey, scholarship boy," Derek called out, loud enough for the whole class to hear. "Heard you're applying to Stanford. That's cute." I ignored him. I'd worked my entire high school career for Stanford. Perfect GPA, student council, volunteer work, the whole package. It was my ticket out of this town, away from people like Derek. "I'm applying there too," he continued, sliding into the seat next to me, even though his assigned seat was across the room. "Wouldn't it be funny if we both got in? Oh, wait, they only accept one student per school in the legacy program, and my grandfather's name is on their library." My stomach dropped. I didn't know if that was true, but with Derek, it didn't matter. Money had a way of making things true. What Derek said next would change everything. And trust me, you won't believe how far he was willing to go. 2 weeks later, I was called into Principal Hendrick's office. The moment I walked in and saw Derek sitting there with his father, Mr. Morrison, and their lawyer, I knew something was catastrophically wrong. "Alex," Principal Hendrick said, her face grave, "there's been a serious accusation." Derek wouldn't look at me. That should have been my first clue. "Derek has reported that you've been harassing him online, sending threatening messages, and that you hacked into his email to steal his Stanford application essay." The room tilted. "What? That's insane. I would never—" "We have screenshots," Mr. Morrison interrupted, sliding a folder across the desk. "Messages from an account with your name, timestamps, everything." I looked at the screenshots. They were messages from an account called Alex_Chen 2024, my name, sending horrible, threatening messages to Derek, telling him he didn't deserve Stanford, that he should watch his back. The final message contained what looked like Derek's actual essay, with the note, "Thanks for the material, rich boy." "That's not me," I said, my voice shaking. "I don't even use that platform. This is fake. He made this up." "The IP address traces back to the school network, which you have access to. So does everyone. So does Derek." But I could see it in Principal Hendricks's eyes. In a he said, she said between Alex Chen, the scholarship student, and Derek Morrison, whose family funded half the school, who do you think they'd believe? They gave me a choice: withdraw my Stanford application and accept a 2-week suspension, or face a formal disciplinary hearing that would go on my permanent record. I took a third option that none of them saw coming. I accepted the suspension. I withdrew my Stanford application. I apologized to Derek in front of witnesses, even though every word tasted like poison. They thought I'd rolled over. They thought I'd given up. They had no idea what I was planning. See, here's what Derek didn't know about me. I wasn't just good at chemistry. I was exceptional at it. And more importantly, I was exceptional at following trails of evidence. My volunteer work was with a digital forensic lab at the local university. helping them catalog crimes for research. I knew exactly how to prove those screenshots were faked. I just needed time and access to the right tools. The suspension gave me both. If you think you know where this is going, hold on, because what I discovered was so much worse than a faked harassment case. During my suspension, I reached out to my mentor at the university, Dr. Sarah Kim. I showed her everything, the screenshots, the timeline, the accusation. I told her I needed to prove my innocence, but I needed to do it right. If you go after him directly, even if you're right, it'll look like retaliation, she warned me. You need to be smarter than that. She was right. So instead of focusing on proving the screenshots were faked, I started digging into Derek himself. Public records, social media, anything that was legally accessible. What I found was a pattern. 3 years ago, a student named Marcus transferred schools suddenly. I found his old social media posts where he'd mentioned false accusations and can't fight the money. 2 years ago, a girl named Jennifer had her entire robotics project disqualified for plagiarism right before regional championships. Derek's team won instead. Last year, a kid named Ryan lost his student council position over a cheating scandal that was never quite proven. Ryan had been running against Derek's best friend. Everyone who'd gotten in Derek's way had been systematically destroyed. And I had been stupid enough to tell him I was applying to Stanford. But here's the thing about patterns. Once you see them, you can't unsee them. And more importantly, other people start to notice too. What happened next required perfect timing, absolute proof, and one very public moment. And I had exactly 17 days to pull it off before Stanford's final decision deadline. I contacted Marcus, Jennifer, and Ryan. At first, they didn't want to talk. Who would? Derek had already ruined them once. But when I explained what had happened to me, something shifted. I kept everything, Jennifer told me on our video call. Every email, every text message. I knew something was wrong, but my parents couldn't afford to fight his lawyers. Marcus sent me a file with chat logs showing Derek's friends discussing how they'd created fake accounts to frame him. I was too scared to use them, he admitted. I just wanted to move on. Ryan had security footage from the library. The computers the evidence came from, Derek's friends were using them, but no one would listen to me without proof of what they were doing. Separately, they had pieces. Together, we had a case. But we needed more than a case. We needed exposure. We needed to make sure that even Mr. Morrison's money couldn't bury this. So I did something risky. I reached out to someone I'd never thought I'd ask for help. The school newspaper editor, Maya Patel. Maya had never liked Derek. He'd called her work amateur journalism one too many times. When I laid out everything we'd found, her eyes lit up. "This is huge," she said, "but I need corroboration. I need someone on record who's currently being affected." "I have you," I said. "With respect, Alex, you're the accused. I need someone else, someone whose testimony can't be dismissed." That's when I remembered something Derek had said in passing 2 weeks before he reported me. Something about handling the competition. And I realized I wasn't his only target this year. Emily Rodriguez. She'd been the only other student from our school applying to Stanford early decision besides Derek and me. Valedictorian, debate champion, already accepted to 3 Ivy League schools. I found her in the library, studying as always. "I need to ask you something," I said, sitting down across from her. "Did Derek Morrison approach you about Stanford?" Her expression changed instantly. Fear, then anger, then resignation. "How did you know?" "Because he did the same thing to me." "Emily, what did Derek do to you?" She glanced around, then lowered her voice. "He told me his dad could guarantee me a full scholarship to MIT. All I had to do was withdraw my Stanford application. He said there were only so many spots. And if I took MIT's offer, he'd make sure his father donated to their scholarship fund in my name." "Did you take it?" "I was going to," she admitted, "but something felt wrong. So I went to my guidance counselor to ask if it was legitimate. She told me to stay away from Derek, but wouldn't explain why. Alex, what is going on?" I told her everything. The pattern of destroyed students, the faked evidence, the system Derek had perfected over 3 years. Emily's hands clenched into fists. "That bastard! I almost gave up my dream school because of him." "I need your help," I said. I need you to go on record with Maya Patel. Tell her about the bribe attempt. He'll come after me. He's already coming after you, and me, and everyone who gets in his way. But if we do this together, if we all speak up at once, he can't silence all of us." Emily looked at me for a long moment. Then she pulled out her phone. "I recorded our conversation, the one where he offered me the deal. I record all my college planning meetings, just to keep track of details. I didn't even think about it until now. We had him. We finally had him. But exposing Derek Morrison wasn't going to be as simple as publishing an article. We needed the timing to be perfect, the evidence to be irrefutable, and the audience to be unavoidable." The Stanford Alumni Networking event was scheduled for 3 days before early decision results came out. It was a big deal at our school. Past Stanford graduates would come back, current applicants would present their qualifications, and the whole thing was designed to make the school look good. Derek was set to give the opening presentation as the presumed Stanford legacy admit. Maya published her article the morning of the event. Pattern of Intimidation, How One Student Allegedly Manipulated His Way to the Top, hit the school's online newspaper at 6 a.m. By the time first period started, it had been shared 300 times. By lunch, a local news station had picked it up. The article was devastating. It laid out 3 years of accusations, all corroborated by multiple sources. Screenshots of Derek's friends coordinating the frame jobs, testimony from 4 different students, email records showing how Derek had accessed school computers to create fake accounts, and Emily's recording of Derek explicitly offering her to bribe her into withdrawing her application. Maya had even gotten a statement from a Stanford admissions counselor saying that if these allegations were proven true, Derek's admission would be revoked and potentially face legal consequences for fraud. The event wasn't canceled, though. Mr. Morrison insisted it go forward, probably hoping to control the narrative. That was his first mistake. His second mistake was letting Derek speak. What happened during that presentation is now the most watched video in our school's history, and trust me, Derek's downfall was even more spectacular than I'd hoped. Derek took the podium in front of 50 Stanford alumni, 20 current students, and about 100 parents and community members. His father sat in the front row, confident as ever. Derek started his presentation about leadership and excellence. 2 minutes in, someone shouted from the audience, "What about Marcus Chen?" Derek faltered. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Jennifer Lee, Ryan Parker, Alex Chen." More voices now, students I didn't even know, standing up. Mr. Morrison stood. "This is inappropriate. Security." "Sit down, Richard." The voice came from a woman in the second row. She stood, and I recognized her from Maya's article research. Monica Harper, Stanford class of 1995, and the state's former Deputy Attorney General. Let him answer the question. "I didn't do anything wrong," Derek said. but his voice cracked. Monica pulled out her phone. "I've just forwarded evidence of potential wire fraud and identity theft to the district attorney's office. Mr. Morrison, your son's IP address was traced to 7 different fake accounts used to harass and defame other students. The digital forensics are conclusive." The room erupted. Derek's face went white. His father started yelling about lawyers and defamation, but Monica wasn't finished. "Additionally, your son recorded himself discussing these schemes with 3 other students. One of those students, feeling guilty, provided the recordings to investigators yesterday. Derek, you bragged about it. You called it clearing the competition." Derek looked at his friends in the audience. One of them, Jake Reeves, his best friend since middle school, wouldn't meet his eyes. That's when I understood. Jake had given him up. The pressure had finally broken their group. Principal Hendricks stood. "This event is over. Derek, my office, now." But the story doesn't end there, because while Derek's reputation imploded in a matter of hours, the real victory came 3 weeks later. Derek Morrison was expelled. Not suspended, expelled. The evidence was too overwhelming, and once Jake and the others started talking to save themselves, everything unraveled. Mr. Morrison's lawyers couldn't spin their way out of recorded confessions and digital forensics. Stanford revoked Derek's admission before he even received his official acceptance letter. The university released a statement saying that they had zero tolerance for academic fraud and intimidation. But here's what really mattered to me. Marcus got readmitted to our school and received a formal apology. Jennifer's robotics project was reinstated, and she won a full scholarship to Carnegie Mellon. Ryan was restored to student council with a notation in his record clearing him of any wrongdoing. And me? Principal Hendricks called me back into her office exactly 3 weeks after my suspension ended. "Alex," she said, and for the first time, she looked genuinely remorseful. "The school board has voted to expunge your suspension from your record entirely. We're also writing a formal letter to Stanford explaining what happened and vouching for your character. It's not enough, I know, but it's what we can do." I submitted my Stanford application on the final deadline. In my essay, I wrote about truth, justice, and standing up against corruption even when it seemed impossible. 2 months later, I got my acceptance letter. Derek Morrison is attending community college now. His father quietly resigned from the school board, and our school implemented new policies about investigating bullying claims and protecting whistleblowers. People always ask me if I feel guilty, if I think I went too far, if I regret destroying Derek's future. Here's what I tell them. I didn't destroy Derek's future. Derek destroyed Derek's future. He built his entire life on lies, manipulation, and ruining other people. All I did was make sure the truth came to light. Would he have stopped if I'd just accepted my suspension and moved on? No. He'd have found another victim and another and another. People like Derek don't stop until someone stops them. The truth is, revenge isn't about destruction. It's about justice. It's about making sure that people face consequences for their actions. And sometimes, the coldest, most effective revenge is simply ensuring that everyone sees the truth. Derek tried to bury me. Instead, I exposed him. And in the end, the truth didn't just set me free, it freed everyone he'd ever hurt. What about you? Have you ever faced a bully who seemed untouchable? Someone who used money, power, or influence to escape consequences? Drop your story in the comments below, and if this story resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Sometimes, knowing you're not alone is the first step to fighting back. Remember, the truth is patient.
It can wait for the perfect moment to reveal itself, and when it does, no amount of money or influence can stop it. Hit that subscribe button if you want more true stories about justice, revenge, and standing up to people who think they're above the rules. Because trust me, I've got plenty more where this came from.